Okay, so hi everybody, it's Lindsay, and I'm here today with my mom, Patty.
Hi.
We're hanging out on the porch swing here in Clearfield, Pennsylvania on a chilly September day. And I thought that it would be a good idea to talk to my mom about what parenting is like, or what parenting was like for her in the 80s and 90s, and what parenting is like for me now in 2017.
I'm a mother of three daughters, beautiful daughters. Lindsay was born in 1980. Michelle was born in 1983. And then 10 years later, Hannah was born in 1993. And I even noticed a big difference from Lindsay and Michelle growing up than Hannah's growing up.
Did you?
Oh, yes.
Like what differences?
Well, first of all, I was a little bit more laid back when I had Hannah.
Yeah.
Because Lindsay was 12, right, when I had Hannah.
Yeah.
And Michelle was 9, and life was pretty busy and hectic. So by the time Hannah came around, it was like you just kind of went with the flow easier.
Yeah, like she just kind of had a blend. You had to blend her into the fabric of the family that was already there, and it was busier.
Yes.
Whereas probably with me and how I am with Evelyn, she's my entire focus.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was a lot different. And as you get older, you're, if I want to put it this way, you're not quite as worried about how you do things. You just want to make sure everybody's happy and loves
Good
each other
point.
and gets along and this and that. I was pretty anal when I had Lindsay and Michelle because I was young. I was only 19 when I had Lindsay.
Yeah.
And 22 when I had Michelle. So I felt like I had to do everything by the book and do it perfect so that my children would be perfect.
And as it turns out, it worked.
It worked because they are. There you go. And they all are.
Yeah.
Even though I did it different with Hannah, I think.
Yeah.
She's perfect as well.
But there are definitely marked differences between me and Michelle and Hannah. Like, I am definitely more of the anal variety that my mom was when I was growing up, and it doesn't have anything to do with age. I think it's
Just
my personality as the
yeah.
eldest child. Like expectations were different for me
Yes.
versus expectations for Hannah.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I had a very strict curfew, if you could even call it that, because I didn't really go out.
No, but
And
a bedtime.
I had a very strict bedtime. I have a very strict bedtime for Evelyn. So yeah, okay. So anyway, we have some topics that we're going to talk about. We're going to touch on about parenting then versus now, and we'll kind of just let the conversation flow.
Okay.
So when I pack Evelyn's lunches for school, I have to make sure that it's peanut free, like that nothing that is in her lunch has touched peanuts essentially. We have to always consider, and when we bring in gifts or snacks for birthdays, for example, we have to always consider many different food intolerances for the whole class. What was it like when we were growing up and you had to pack our lunches? Did you have to think about things like that?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I don't remember thinking of things like that because, of course, Lindsay, none of my kids had allergies.
No.
So they just ate whatever was put before them.
So
And
in the schools they didn't restrict.
I don't recall, but then
Yeah.
again, maybe it's because I was lucky and had children that didn't have allergies. I'm sure there were other children that did.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like in Evelyn's school, it's a peanut-free zone, so nothing that
Yes.
has touched peanuts is allowed to go through those doors.
I don't recall.
And it wasn't like that.
I don't recall that ever being
Yeah.
talked about. Like I felt like we weren't the helicopter parents.
Yeah.
When I was raising my children, I
Yeah.
wasn't anyway.
No, you
But
weren't.
see, my parents weren't either.
Yeah.
We're talking in the 60s
Yeah.
and 70s. So now parents are much more involved, which is a good thing. But
Yeah.
then you can overdo it too, I think.
Totally overdo it. Like when we were kids, we were allowed to play outside
Yes.
without really much adult supervision, as long as we stayed within the parameters that we were told that we
Yes.
had to stay in. But now, if I were to let Evelyn outside by herself, now, and let's say when she's 7, if I were to do that in a few years, somebody would probably call the cops or CPS on me because they'd think, well, where's your parent? Where's your mom?
Yeah.
What's this little girl doing outside by herself? Even if she had a friend with her, it's not like that.
No,
Whereas
it's
we
not.
basically lived outside from sunup to sundown.
Right. And it depends on your area.
That's true,
because I
too.
believe we're in rural Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So it isn't quite as, I mean, kids still play out in the neighborhood.
Without parental
parent-
supervision?
Well, I'd say by the time they're 10, 11.
Right,
You know,
yeah,
they're
yeah.
still, I mean, there's an age where you can let them outside and they're
Yeah.
going to stay in the yard and you just know where they are.
Yeah,
at all.
yeah.
I mean, I always knew where my kids were.
Yeah, you always knew where we
Yeah.
were.
And
And when you yelled our names, we had to come running.
yeah,
Yeah.
I got a little story there.
Yeah.
There was one time I yelled, Lindsay, Michelle, time to come in. Or no, I'd yell, Lindsay, Michelle.
Yeah.
And I think it was you yelled, what?
I
Yeah, that
remember
was the
that.
last
That
time
was the
she ever
last
yelled
time.
what. I said, when I call your name, you come home.
Yeah.
You don't say what, because I'm not
Yeah.
going to scream across the neighborhood what I want.
No, I remember that. I actually distinctly remember that experience. And yeah, that was the first and last time I ever yelled what.
Because I'd say Hannah was a little more sassy than Lindsay and Michelle.
Absolutely. She had a lot more freedoms than we had in terms of like what she did. Like,
Yeah. Play dates, was that even a thing?
yeah, were play dates a thing?
Well, not really, unless you had, like, you played with your cousins.
yeah, we played with
So
our
they were
cousins.
lucky enough to, all their cousins kind of lived around here, and it'd be like, we'd just say, you know, I'd say to my brother, can the girls come down and play with your girls?
Yeah.
Or else he'd call and say, can, you know, my girls come on? I mean, they weren't really play dates, they were just hanging out
Yeah.
with their cousins.
Yeah.
A lot.
Whereas now we kind of have to plan play dates like a week or two in advance. So like, oh, we're busy next weekend and the weekend after that, but how about Sunday on the 13th?
Yeah.
And they'll come from 1 to 4. Are
Right.
there any dietary restrictions?
Nothing like it is
One
now.
thing I wanted to talk about was birthday parties. So now it's like we
Every year.
brought in Elsa for Evelyn's 4th birthday party, and everything's so structured, and 1 to 1:30 is opening gifts or whatever.
Yeah.
It feels very stressful for parents today, I think, because there's so many demands and everybody has to go home with a loot bag. What was it like that when we were kids?
No.
Yeah.
In fact, we mostly just had family birthday parties
Yeah,
when you were
yeah.
little. And then, what birthday did you have that you had a bunch of school friends?
I want to say I was 10.
Yeah,
Was I
that's what I'm
10?
thinking.
Yeah.
Like when Lindsay and Michelle were little, growing
Yeah.
up, birthdays, you didn't have a big gig every year.
No.
And themes were like, maybe My Little Pony or
Yeah.
Strawberry Shortcake.
Yeah.
And you didn't, you mainly just made sure you had cake and ice cream.
Yeah.
And a couple games for the kids to play. And when you have summer birthdays, that's
It's less
ideal
stress too, yeah.
because you're outside. The kids come up with their
Yeah.
ideas. You'd play Red Rover. You'd
Yeah,
play,
we basically entertain ourselves.
yeah, I'm glad because I'm not very creative.
I'm not
Never-
either, though. I feel like I should have been a parent in the 80s because I don't feel like I belong in parenting in 2017 because I'm not that Pinterest mom.
Yeah, well, you're doing great no matter
Thank
what.
you.
And that's the thing. You just, as long as your kids are happy and healthy and
And
motivated
loved.
and loved,
Yeah,
then you don't really have to worry about what you're not doing.
that's a good
Just
point.
do what
yeah.
you're doing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We've been interrupted with visitors. My sister's here.
Say hello,
Say
Mel.
hi, Shell.
Melanie and Michelle.
Meredith's been here the whole time. Evelyn's been here the whole time, and then the
Hi,
boys are
boys.
here too.
Uh-oh, the boys are fighting over there about something. Say hi.
About anything.
How are you
Anything,
guys
anything.
doing? They're just being shy.
Yeah, so we'll wrap this up.
Oh,
But I
did
just
we-
kind of wanted to introduce
Any other
my mom
questions?
to everybody because I love my mom.
And I love my girl. Love you.
And